They braved the seas with no engines, no modern maps, not even proper designs to guide them. Imagine colossal wooden giants, fragile by today's standards, facing storms, rogue waves, and endless horizons, with nothing but sails, rope, and human determination. Every voyage was a gamble with death, every departure a leap into the unknown. And yet these ships not only left the shore, they crossed oceans, rewrote maps, and changed the course of history. So how did these towering wooden beasts ever set sail in the first place?
They were towering wooden giants that carved their way across oceans, braved merciless storms, and laid the foundations of global empires. Galleons weren't just ships, they were monumental floating fortresses, symbols of the age of discovery, and a true feat of naval architecture for the 16th century. Built to last and to conquer, these vessels carried hundreds of men, loaded tons of precious cargo, and housed multiple decks armed with formidable cannons. Their sheer scale and sophistication still impress naval historians to this day, especially when we remember how they were crafted without any electricity, machinery, or digital planning tools. No CAD software, no motors, no factory lines. Every plank, every nail, every curve was measured by hand, judged by eye, and fitted with the wisdom passed down through generations. In this video, we'll unveil the forgotten art and labor behind the creation of these maritime behemoths. You'll discover how an entire ecosystem of artisans, shipwrights, and laborers spent months or even years building a single galleon, and how surprisingly scientific the whole process was. But the journey didn't start at the docks. It began deep in the forests of Europe, where the raw material of naval power was still standing tall and rooted in the soil. Before any ship could touch water, thousands of trees had to fall. Each galleon required up to 2,000 carefully selected trees. The most sought after were European oaks for their strength and resilience, and lighter pine for masts and spars. But it wasn't just about size. The real treasure was what builders called compass timber, wood with natural curves and angles shaped by years of wind and weather. These curved pieces were ideal for the hull, already growing in the form needed for the ship's frame. Trees were felled with iron axes, hauled by oxen-drawn carts, or dragged over land on wooden sleds. In some cases, entire logs were floated down rivers to distant shipyards. But before the first plank was nailed in place, each timber needed time, sometimes years, to cure. Too much moisture, and it would rot at sea. Too dry, and it would crack. Getting that balance right was an art in itself. Once the timber was ready, construction began in shipyards that could span entire coastlines. These shipyards roared with constant noise, the pounding of hammers, the groaning of saws, the hiss of hot tar. Dozens, sometimes hundreds of craftsmen worked together in coordinated rhythm. Carpenters, blacksmiths, caulkers, apprentices, all like a living machine. The backbone of the ship, the keel, was laid first, a massive central beam running the entire length of the vessel. From there, frames known as ribs rose up like the bones of some giant sea beast. Without blueprints, master shipbuilders relied on traditional templates known as molds that preserved ancient knowledge passed down from father to son. Many of these builders couldn't read or write, but they knew how to shape a hull by heart. They understood every angle, every tension point, every necessary bend in the wood. Each piece was carefully pegged in place with handmade iron nails, every connection checked by sound, by pressure, and by instinct. To seal the gaps between planks, workers used a method called caulking, stuffing a mix of tar-soaked fibers like hemp into every seam, ensuring the hull could withstand months at sea without taking on water. This was just the beginning. For months, the ship's skeleton would grow in size and complexity. Each beam, deck, and mast was a puzzle piece fitted into a grand design that only existed in the minds of the builders.
As the ship rose from the ground, it became a living monument to ingenuity, strength, and perseverance, ready to take on the unpredictable fury of the Atlantic and beyond. The masts, the helm, the captain's quarters, every component of a galleon was assembled with unmatched craftsmanship. Like a living sculpture carved from timber, each part was shaped, joined, and secured with painstaking care. Nothing was left to chance. The result was not merely a ship, but a masterpiece of naval architecture, an embodiment of centuries of trial, error, and innovation. But what truly set a galleon apart from other vessels of its time? A galleon was the ultimate hybrid, born from the fusion of military might and commercial practicality. It inherited the firepower of medieval carracks, the agility and speed of caravels, and the impressive cargo capacity of trading ships, all harmonized into one formidable vessel. Early galleons in the 16th century were around 30 to 40 meters long, but over time their size grew dramatically. Some reached lengths of more than 60 meters, towering with 3 or 4 massive masts and staffed by over 200 sailors and soldiers. These ships could carry up to 100 heavy cannons, making them fearsome weapons of sea warfare. But galleons were designed for more than just combat. They were engineered to endure the brutal conditions of transoceanic voyages. For months on end, they faced crushing waves, relentless winds, and the constant threat of pirates. The towering stern castle, known as the aft castle, housed the captain's quarters, navigation instruments, treasure chests, and sacred icons. At the front, the forecastle provided defensive strength during close-quarters fighting and served as shelter for part of the crew. The hull itself was a marvel of design, broad at the bottom for buoyancy and stability, yet narrowing sharply above the waterline to enhance speed and maneuverability during battles or storms. Beyond their function as floating fortresses, galleons were also floating symbols of power and prestige. Their sails bore royal crests, their sterns glistened with golden carvings of saints, mythical beasts, and national emblems. When a galleon entered a harbor, it did more than deliver cargo. It announced the presence of empire. Merchants, officials, and commoners alike would stop to witness its arrival, awestruck by the sheer scale and majesty of its silhouette against the sky. These magnificent ships were both tools of conquest and instruments of diplomacy. They transported wealth, armies, culture, and fear. And wherever they sailed, they carried not just goods or men, but the ambitions of entire nations. If you're captivated by the drama and grandeur of the Age of Sail, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Here we uncover the untold stories behind oceanic exploration, sea battles, maritime customs, and the legendary figures who charted new worlds. Leave a like and share this video if it brought history to life for you. And tell us in the comments, would you like to dive into the true story behind the Pirates of the Caribbean? Or perhaps explore what daily life really was like aboard a merchant ship? Your suggestion might inspire our next deep-sea journey.